hopefully everyone had a great lunch, a snack. Wanted to just first off, I want to acknowledge the earlier presentations. There were great presentations this morning. There was a Zoom user that asked a question to Justice Williams that I missed. So I wanted to just acknowledge I'm going to try to get an answer for that. So I've asked if Justice Barnes is able to circle back with her to get that answer. So hopefully we can get that for you by the end of the day. I wonder, Joanne and May, are you guys present? Or you... There's Joanne.
Hi.
So we so far this morning we've kind of been all over the country, and we're going up to the Northwest now. So we're really thrilled, and I'm personally very interested to learn about today's presentation from Joanne, May, Kelly, and Daniel. So today they're going to be speaking about the why, the how, and the impacts of the Yukon Domestic Violence Court, and similar to the other ones, discuss some of the barriers, challenges, and successes, and best practice recommendations. So I think there's three of you I see in May's screen. So welcome, guys. So just as a quick background. Joanne Greene, and I'll go very quickly with these. So if you need more information about their bios, that will be in your bulletin. Joanne Greene is the manager of the Justice Wellness Center, the Yukon Government Department of Justice in Watson Lake and Whitehorse. Joanne has spent most of her career in the federal government Public Prosecution Service of Canada, holding the position of Crown Witness Coordinator and Crown Witness Program Coordinator. Joanne is currently employed as the manager of the Justice Wellness Center after spending the past 5 years supporting the Yukon's therapeutic courts, Domestic Violence Treatment Option Court, and the Community Wellness Court. May Stewart is the Director of Justice of the Laird Government. May Stewart is a Casca woman and is part of the Crow clan. Her mother was May Broghagen, and grandmother is Nina Nahas. May grew up practicing her Casca culture along the Highland River on her family's trap line, and continues this tradition with the 3 adult children. May worked in the justice system most of her life, and since 2011 she sits as the Laird First Nation Justice Director and has the privilege of assisting Casca people through their justice and welfare systems. She's a strong advocate for restorative justice, land-based healing, and holistic alternative practices. Kelly Allen is the supervising team lead and the clinical counselor at the Justice Wellness Center. Kelly has worked at the Yukon Government Department of Justice for over 18 years. Kelly has worked in various capacities over the years and is currently working as the Justice Wellness at the Justice Wellness Center as a clinical counselor. This role provides Kelly counseling treatment programming for individuals entering the therapeutic courts with needs related to intimate partner violence, the Domestic Treatment Option Court, and Community Wellness Court for those challenges related to addictions and mental health. And last but not least, Daniel Dick is a justice worker at the Laird First Nations and Deneke Justice Program. Daniel Dick is a Casca Dene man of the Crow clan. Daniel has lived in Watson Lake, Yukon for the most of his life. He has worked in the Laird First Nation government in various positions as the receptionist, education assistant, language assistants. And he likes working with the community and helping out in any way he can. Daniel has been a justice worker since 2018 and works in restorative justice and helps in developing and planning programs that enhance and teaches traditional Casca activities, values, and principles. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you guys, and thank you so much for joining us, and we're all eager to learn more.
Morning, everyone. I'm going to share screen and open a PowerPoint. Maybe I'm not.
I think if you click that, there's that little green square at the bottom there, the share screen.
Yeah.
It should give you a couple of options of windows that you have open.
When I actually open them, nothing happens is the problem. Oh no. Kelly, are you able to do it your end? No, I sent. Okay, can you see it?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
If you, Joanne, if you're running into issues, you can, I can send you my email address and you can email it to me and I can put it up on my screen if that's.
Okay. Let's do that. Might need opening a few more screens to do it though. See how Kelly's doing there. Send a copy through mail.
We're not having any luck at this end, Joanne. I think if we send it to the Mr.
Yeah.
Cooper, that would be fantastic. And then we get to instruct him on when to hit the next slide.
Okay, go with your email.
Yeah, I just sent you my email address there, so
Oh shoot.
in the chat function.
Got it. Copy. It. You right now. There we go. In the meantime, I will queue it up nonetheless. So good morning, everybody. Sorry about the glitch here. So the Domestic Violence Treatment Option Court and Community Wellness Court has run in Whitehorse for pretty much the past 15 to 20 years, both programs. In Watson Lake, we did open a version of the Domestic Violence Treatment Option Court, and over the years, it's sort of bounced on and off, dependent upon different staff, Yukon government staff that have been placed in the positions of counselor and probation officers in that community. In the Whitehorse program, we have a plethora of resources within the community. It's structured very similar to typical drug treatment courts, mental health courts, or specialized courts that you hear of across the country, where a client has to enter a guilty plea, get released on bail conditions, and then from there enter the program. And so Brian's having trouble too, I think. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, it's not a file format that I'm able to open. Is it a PowerPoint slide? It
is a PowerPoint slide, yeah.
Do you mind just trying to see if you could like resave it as like a .ppt, I think.
Okay.
And send it to me.
We're eating up precious time here, so. What I'm going to do instead is try that one. So as I was saying, sort of with the staff turnover issues we knew were present in Watson Lake. It's a very small community. It's about a 6-hour drive to 5-hour drive-ish to Watson Lake from Whitehorse. We did have a probation officer there and a clinical counselor that went back and forth. And there we go.
Right. I think we got it at our end, Joanne.
Oh,
I just got it up on my screen too.
Oh,
great.
okay.
You guys must have beat me to it. So
Great.
We're good now, I think.
All right.
So you already did the intro.
Yeah.
So started.
So sorry, if you could just go back to the second slide real quick, Kelly.
There you go.
So what we knew was happening in Watson with the staff turnover, we really needed to sort of address it differently. So a couple of years ago, Watson approached the Justice Wellness Center, wanted to reopen the program, but we knew we had to really do it differently. We had to think about how do we build this program that's not dependent on system-based structures like court or staff turnover issues within a government. And how do we build it thinking really outside of the box and collectively in order to support a different partnership with the community. Yeah, so like I said, it was specialized in mainstream. And so we moved to doing it a bit differently. And that was a true partnership with the Liard First Nations Justice Department and government. And next slide. It had to be sort of based on the needs of the community. And when I originally pitched this notion to my boss, I said, I really want to build sustainable programming that has multiple layers of training. If we could digitize some of the training that we're doing so that it can help train new staff members as we come, and that sort of move it kind of into an adult diversion style of programming that was community grounded, and there was lots of capacity to build the program. And when I originally pitched this to my boss, he says, "You're going to put yourself out of work." And I said, "Well, perfect." Then if the community can, build that capacity to bridge what they know their needs are, better they do that than the colonized system of justice and courts. So from there, next slide. From there, we knew it had to be First Nations led through the Casca lens and community driven. Although Yukon government's employees were essential in the original development of this, we wanted that to be replaceable. If YG employees left, for example, we knew the program could sustain. Removing the colonized processes and the mindset, and really getting to the grassroots initiatives that could be maintained in that community. We applied for funding for Kelly's position, and were successful in obtaining a 4-year funding platform for the launch of this. We also used lots of government dollars to hire First Nations consultants to do a lot of elder healing work and support and growth work before we launched the project. Next slide. And why we were doing it this way comes in, Kelly. We knew we had to do it differently.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, the whys, and that's exactly like Joanne had queued up. And I think it's so super important to, if you're going to form a partnership that is truly meaningful when it comes to restorative. Yeah, we're on. Can you see me, Joanne? We don't see us at this end.
Yeah, I see you and hear you.
Okay, perfect. So what was really important when we came into this is really having a clear understanding of some of the history, like the fundamentals and undeniable facts that lead to overrepresentation and the need for specialized therapeutic courts. So as you can see, research has been really clear, and it's still growing, about the need that a paper I discuss here, that in 2019, it talks about, and it's Canadian data as well, that although Indigenous people only make up 3% of the population, yet 27% constituted those in prison. So there's a clear indicator of overrepresentation, as well as it captures the importance of the DDTO program, because 50% of those, the research was also able to determine that those incarcerated were also impacted by relationship violence as children. So we also know that Indigenous women are at a minimum 2 or 3 times more likely to experience intimate partner violence compared to non-Indigenous women. So making sure that our DVTO program and partnership really put the Casca lens first, so that it was meaningful to make meaningful responses to IPV was really important, and have a clear understanding of those origins of overrepresentation. So the next point is that some of the primary reasons that Indigenous people are overrepresented in jails and the criminal justice system, and as noted by the Royal Commission of Aboriginal People, which is also quoted in a federal government, and I put the link there for everyone, document that discusses overrepresentation Indigenous people in the criminal justice system, is they note primarily it's colonialism is one of the first reasons. socioeconomic marginalization, and of course, culture clash. And we see that of being in the justice system for 18 years and on my journey of growth and learning to decolonize myself, even as I learn and grow with experts and really get over yourself in the field as a clinician, as well as a representative of the court system, has been key to making this work. So that means that we are able to see the whole picture and the historical picture, and we acknowledge that there's been a disconnect from people's families and their communities and culture, and what this long-term negative effect has had. And we admit we've seen some progresses, but it's undeniable from our perspective and purview on the ground that we know we need to do better, and we know we can, and that's what part of this initiative is. So on the next slide, we move to kind of like the facts behind that. So we know that there's a lot of partnerships involved when you're building programming and different streams through therapeutic courts. And it's pretty clear that the partnerships are often colonial, including us historically, and that there is an undeniable lack of cultural safety within our colonial systems that people experience. So that's something you need to know and understand going into that, so that it assists in putting kind of the community's needs first and really hearing what their needs are. So like I discussed before, colonialism and culture clash are two of the primary reasons for Indigenous overrepresentation. But culture clash is described or defined as when Indigenous people are required to fit into a system that does not recognize their values, and ultimately causing overrepresentation. And that's what this DBTO program is all about, is recognizing there is culture clash, and how do we change that? How do we actually make it more about culture and taking out the clashing piece? So we've, during the partnership and our with Denaga, as well as our partners in the court process, they are keen to make changes with us as well, and learning and changing as we grow. So lucky for us, we had the opportunity to partner and support with Denaga in one of these initiatives. They have plenty on their plate. They're a very successful Justice Department. And Watson Lake for Justice Wellness is definitely one of our pilot projects. And we recognize too what partnership is, and partnership means to us in our role at JWC is supporting Denaga to be the lead in all we do together. So I literally stand back and follow that lead. So it's our opportunity in the community and as part of the criminal courts and the criminal justice system to it's our opportunity and responsibility, we feel, to respond to what First Nation communities have been calling for over decades. And that has been easily, I've found it in research like long time ago, like back into early 2000s, 1998, I've read a paper where these changes, what we're doing now has been called for, but we just haven't been listening. So this is our opportunity. That's what I mean by doing it different, and supporting it completely from that First Nation lens. And the evidence that we found on the ground, as well as what's purported in other areas of success, is that this is the way, and it's obvious in this joint project and partnership with Denaga. So I'm capturing data as we go, and it's undeniable when we step back and take the clash out of the system and do it their way. I do the clinical counseling one-on-one, and as well as attend the groups. And it is it's remarkable how much of a change and shift there has been in intervening with factors underlining IPV when you link it back to belonging and culture and making that meaningful. So I think that's probably what my part for introducing May and Daniel is. And I'll move the slide for you. And I'll let May introduce a little bit about the the photo they have here. Here, Daniel, I'll put the seats with you.
The Democratic Justice Program began in 1950 or 1995, around that time. And the photo that was included is some of the participants that was part of the program, and we still have the some of the initial people in the photograph involved in our program. The Denegat Justice Program is part of the Liard First Nation Watson Lake. It is a supports community-based justice, provides culturally appropriate alternatives to mainstream justice. The programs use restorative and other Indigenous processes such as healing circles, victim offender mediation, traditional workshops, cultural counseling, and Casca traditional practices and programs. Accountability is achieved by the harmer accepting responsibility for their actions, examining the impact on the people that were affected. And in the program, the elders have an important role in the restorative justice processes. They're the foundation of the Denegat Justice Program. They bring support, understanding, guidance, life experiences, and foundational traditional teachings. They help the harmer acknowledge their harmful actions and influence meaningful ways to change behaviors to restore community harmony. The elders' support is very successful in our program. We also partner and participate with the DBTO program, and the whole community is invited to programs that we hold monthly. And the mainstream court, the high numbers of assault charges related to intimate partner violence, ineffective in supporting the community needs. There's limited resources in the court, limited options for the community. The Denegat worked to make the court process relevant to the community needs and tied to community capacity building initiatives.
About making mainstream court relevant to the community. Our program ties up court process and additional clinical services. Clinical counseling is intersected with the Casca wellness wheel and the traditional 7 sacred teachings to support Casca cultural values and knowledge. And the 7 sacred teachings are truthfulness, love, humility, trust, respect, courage, and honesty. And these teachings are discussed and covered in each of our programs that we bring to the community that will help those involved in the criminal justice system and community members. The specialized court program offers treatment and support to work on ways to build healthy relationships and build stronger connection with Casca ways. And how it works, and the deal is that charges are laid, appearance in court, and speaking with a lawyer about participation in the program. And a sustainability assessment is requested, and a suitable ability will be entered. And counseling and treatment based on individual needs of the participant. Regular court appearances is to review progress. Sentencing is upon completion of the treatment program. And role of the courts is to focus on how the client is doing and how to help build support for the completion of goals. Informed of the client's progress through bi-weekly reports from a treatment team. Engagement by the judge, they will ask how the client is doing. Treatment and monitoring are maintained until the program is completed. Client can maintain engagement with the treatment program after the sentencing.
So I think I'll turn it over to May just to kind of sum that up a little bit. just the highlights of working together in the program, and what you find is working. And
yeah, in our community, we found that the mainstream court system just was not working. And the program we did have a program a few years ago, but it kind of died out. It just wasn't working in our community. So Kelly and I got together and talked about redeveloping the program so it was culturally relevant for the people that that were in the system. And we knew that we needed to add culture, and culture was the main focus. And people had to know why they were in the program, and we needed to see success, and just marrying the colonial side of the court and our traditional teachings to make it relevant in the community. And involving our elders, we knew would be the root and the foundation of the program. So we really stress culture and community involvement in elders, with elders guidance. And we see the community is buying into it, and it's more relevant and it's more meaningful for everybody in the community. So with the help of Joanne and Kelly, to open the door so that these teachings, our Casca ways, could be introduced into the system. Otherwise, we would still be trying to figure out how are we going to make change. But with the door opening through the Community Wellness Court and Joanne and Kelly, we were able to get our foot in the door. So I think a lot of communities have the ability to work within the system and also recognize culture. That is the foundation. Like, you have to have culture.
And I just want to add, thank you, May. And I just want to add to that, May is a fierce and passionate leader for her community, for this community. So is Daniel, incredibly grounded in culture, teaches me things all the time. We, Joanne and I speak for Joanne, of course, too, feel incredibly lucky and honored that we were trusted enough to build a relationship where it has to be trust, because they need to trust, the Denegat needed to trust that our intentions were genuine. We knew the fundamental facts, we honored that. And just from the therapeutic perspective of me working with individuals, the participants of the Casca DBTO process, repairing harm is ultimately at the core of healing for everyone in a community, the family system, the victim, the person that's doing the harm, the community, all the citizens. And that's built on healing self. And that was what I was speaking of earlier in the slides, is that I can speak to empirically, because for the last year and a half, I've been watching not only those connections back to culture and self grow, but flourish, where participants in the program are actually making decisions based on the 7 sacred teachings versus something that doesn't belong to them. And that has made significant difference. And we're still growing and learning as we go. And as is our group, we do have issues right now, and they are good issues to have. Like I said today, we have growing pains because of the growth and the people that are attending more and more. And I also wanted to add about working in partnership with Denegat. Ultimately, the goal was to build enough capacity and strength and momentum within the community to be self-led, and that is happening. And I am just lucky enough to be there as a guest. They don't need me. I can literally just be conduit now of referrals to a Casca program that lives and breathes in the community. But I'm just lucky enough that they keep inviting me back. So, but it is also, it proves that when we kind of pull back the colonial lens and put what the people have been asking for decades first, it works. And I just want to impress that on everyone in just my different work across the communities in general, but especially Watson Lake. So I want to give thanks to Denegat as well. So but I think we're going to turn it back to Joanne to kind of wrap that up for us.
If you could stop sharing your screen, that'd be perfect. Thank you. Yeah, in wrapping that up, I just want to talk about what that looks like on the ground. And so the process, which I sort of envisioned after our first few meetings with Liard First Nations, May and Daniel, Chief and Council, in envisioning how we would do it differently, I suspected this process, entering the guilty plea, moving into court process, being supervised by a probation officer that you saw in the slide earlier, that sort of traditional way of doing specialized court programming. I suspected what would happen is as the community engagement and growth started, we would see less referrals through charges and through that process, and more, as I coin, sort of like an adult diversion program, that sort of CASCA-led program. So what that looked like was, at first, it was, like I say, Kelly and one of our elder consultants who does healing work going into the community. It started with 4 elders showing up for meetings, grew to 16. We identified those 7 sacred teachings through the CASCA lens and what they meant to the community and to the people. And from there, they grew programs. They grew on the land programs, traditional parenting, and trained several community members. As a matter of fact, over 30 community members are engaged in the process. And so pre or post charge, the RCMP or the Crown can refer now. And sometimes it's a community member who's calling the program and saying, my child is in trouble, and can I refer them to the program? What we're doing on the ground isn't just the learnings and the teachings and the clinical piece to really intersect with the trauma. And we're building that in a way that looks very, very differently. So if you have a group that is engaged in the learning workshop on the land program or group program, from there, they're invited to come back and participate as a lead in one aspect of the program. And as more programs start running, the harmer continues to move through their own journey by becoming honored in that process, as does the victim. And so the program that Watson Lake is building, as I said, our referrals are significantly down. I think we are only getting 4 or 5 a year, but there's over 17 people in the program in total. And that's the difference. It's the courts recognizing also that as we built the capacity in the community, they were confident that the process could function without that mainstream sort of charges and jail and bail conditions. And May once asked me, I don't know if she's still on the line because I know they had to sneak out to another meeting. She said, are we making a difference? I want to know if we're making a difference. And I mean, engaging in this work for harmers and victims is really challenging and not going to sort of see long-term results in a year and a half. But what we are seeing is 4 people moving to 16 people, moving to 30 people, and growing still. The strength in the community engagement and the trust that we've built and other agencies and processes, colonialized processes, are seeing and letting go of, and allowing Watson Lake to honor their culture and import justice in their community in the way that they see needed. That's the strength in what's happening here. And as that continues to grow, yes, we will absolutely see difference.
Well, thank you so much to this whole team. Really, really engaging and interesting and eye-opening presentation. And I really loved the focus just on self-healing and just that integrate and that sustainability piece. I think it's a remarkably inspiring story and kind of journey that you guys have been on. So I really, really appreciate your insights and sharing it with us today. So just to the audience, if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A, or we discovered in an earlier session, you have the ability to raise your hand if you want to ask it to the panel. one of the things, just while we're waiting, I wonder if you might be able to provide a little bit more information of the role of the elders. And kind of the tasks that what they're tasked with, and again coming from a healthcare perspective, that comment around kind of building capacity, strength within the community, but also giving individuals that opportunity for self-healing. And I wonder how the role of the elders kind of plays in facilitating that. If you're able to provide a bit more detail.
Yeah, once we got sort of support from mainstream process, so the sort of the legal structure and subcommittee to start developing this program, the next thing we did was invite several elders to a meeting. And that was the first 4 group of elders that has now grown to 16. What was learned was elders are often called upon in the community to do a multitude of things. But one of the things they're called upon to do is take care of children, where we have areas of mental health or substance and addictions happening in some of their children or nieces and nephews, et cetera. And what was learned through that, we thought we could do a couple of meetings and then sort of start supporting the elders in intersective programming. What we learned was we had to do a lot more healing. So we actually spent 4 months with Kelly, the clinician, and the First Nations consultant, just doing healing workshops. And the elders now feel like they have role and purpose in a positive way. And so that was the first journey for their engagement. After that, they are present in learnings and teachings. So as we're doing group work and a harmer may talk about their feelings, the elder's role would be to reflect that in positive light, to intersect the Casca values within that person, to help them guide them back to their cultural roots, learn the cultural pieces. And then the clinician is there to address the mental health, suicidal ideation, and trauma responses. Every program we do, except for the one-on-one counseling, is now done with the clinician and the elder and the First Nation consultant healer in the room, on the land programming, group programming, everything. But after that, after the 16 elders grew, their role was to help guide their community back to their cultural roots, one person, one harmer, one victim at a time. Yeah. They also lead some of the sacred fire circle ceremony on the land and things like that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Are there, just putting a call for any last questions, comments from the audience? Okay. On that note, May, Kelly, Daniel, and Joanne, just thank you so much for your time and your insight and sharing what's a bit of really insightful and inspiring journey you've been on. So we really thank you for your time, and yeah, wish you well as the journey continues.